Hey everyone, we are coming to you live from Moynihan Train Hall in Manhattan. We just got back from our 8-hour flight from London into JFK. Pretty smooth flight, but we're going to tell you about what we did in our time in London.
Yes. Lots of fun
So it was the last leg of our UK trip. So it was the last leg of our UK trip. We already released 2 vlogs summarizing what we did in the rest of the UK. So now it's London. So we were there for about 5 days.
Yes.
So that we arrived there this past Monday. So Kate, do you want to talk about what we did on Monday?
Yeah, so we took a morning train from York to London, and then it was about an hour to get to where we were staying in Ruislip, which was with the Mennonite Your Way family, the Upchurches. They were very nice. It was a little hectic, but that day we didn't actually plan to do any sightseeing. We just went straight there. But we did plan an afternoon tea at a local restaurant called Brown's. That was a lot of fun. They had the whole tea tower and nice tea selections. And then in the evening we just kind of hung out and went to bed early. We had a very in-depth conversation with them upon arrival. It was very intense. They had some interesting theology points, but it was nice to get to know them because we didn't spend too much time with them after that. That was Monday. It was a very relaxed day.
So then Tuesday, we both kind of went on our own solo adventures. So my solo adventure, the main event for me that day was a rock and roll tour of London. It was a group of about 60 people, and we got on a chartered bus and we were driven around to a bunch of notable locations in London that relate to rock music or just music in general. I saw Jimmy Page's house. That was a highlight. We also went by Abbey Road Studios, and I walked across the Abbey Road crossing. So that was my main thing. That was 3 or 4 hours long on Tuesday afternoon.
So I did my own thing on Tuesday. I had an early start. I did 3 things that were all included in the London Pass. So I love it. Definitely got my money's worth. So on that day I visited the Globe Theatre and I got a nice guided tour. It was really fun because, it's actually the 3rd theater. Technically, they had an original one, then they moved it, and then it burned down, and then they built a 3rd one, not on the original site, but on a new site. So
okay, can I pause for a second?
Yeah.
One thing, if there's anything I've learned from being in the UK, is that literally every important building has burned down at some point in its history and has been rebuilt. Okay. End of tangent.
Yes, it's really unfortunate because
you think they would have learned, maybe we should. You think they would have adopted more, fire safety precautions earlier on? Because literally, all the cathedrals, palaces,
a lot of the medieval architecture has been lost. So it is unfortunate, but
burned out.
It's laid out in the classic O style, so it's 7/8 surrounded by audience, which is cool. And the stage was really opulently decorated, and all of the special effects they used in those times was really cool. It was fun to just walk around and be there. The second thing I did was a Little Venice boat tour down the canal. That was actually really fun. I learned about the canal history in London. And then the last thing I did was the Frameless Art Experience, and that was really cool.
So after all our solo adventures on Tuesday, then we met back up to go to a jazz club in Soho called Jazz After Dark. I had been wanting to go to a jazz club. It's been on the itinerary for a while, so we gotta experience the local music in all the cities. Yeah, it was really fun. There was a band there called the Jada Funk Band. Yeah, they did a number of songs.
Singing don't go away. About a thing. Nice and loud for me. Alright.
Kate even got up and sang with them. They sang an Amy Winehouse song. They sang Valerie.
Stop making a fool of me. Why
And what makes that cooler is that Jazz After Dark bar is where Amy Winehouse she frequented it as she was building her career. Apparently she wrote Back to Black in that particular bar. And yeah, there's lots of pictures of her with the owner. She was a regular there. So yeah, that was
Even up
fun
to the
time.
week before she died, which was crazy.
Yeah. So moving on to Wednesday, we spent most of Wednesday in Western London in the Kensington area. So do you want to talk about the Royal Albert Hall?
Sure.
The first thing we did?
Yes, so that was a lot of fun. We just toured around the building. We got to see the inside. We learned about some of the architecture and the history of it. So they're working on Swan Lake currently, or that's the production that's running. So we got to see like the setup of that, and they're using the whole arena space for that.
It just made us, like, I wish I could be at the Royal Albert Hall for a show or something at some point, because it's definitely like a very highly regarded venue.
Yes.
So after our Royal Albert Hall tour, we headed to Kensington Palace, which is one of the royal palaces, and we did a little self-guided tour of that. So that was cool. Got to see some royal rooms and portraits and learn about Queen Victoria and some of the other royalty of that time period. In our opinion, it was not like the most impressive place. Okay guys, we're being honest. Kensington Palace is not as pretty as we expected it to be.
It doesn't have the curb appeal.
So like this is it.
It just looks
all,
very plain.
It looks like a factory. We were saying,
or
like
an
a
orphanage.
yeah, and like just like
The color of the
color of the
bricks.
bricks, and they're in bad need of power washing. Let's be real. And yeah, it just or like an old school, like or something like that. That's kind of what it looks
The
like.
surrounding gardens and landscaping was underwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't very well manicured.
It was
so
enjoyable though to learn
Yeah,
about
it was-
the the three sections.
It
And the
was-
inside was nice.
yeah, not as nice as the Palace of Holyrood House
Holyrood
in
House was
Scotland
elite.
that we visited earlier this week. But yeah, so like I mean, I'm glad we came here.
Yes.
But yeah, I much prefer Italian architecture, I found. Like, I feel like they're like the Roman architecture in Vatican City and Rome, of course, is just like a lot nicer, a lot better manicured. But who am I to say? I live in a country where we don't have any royalties, so even DC is nicer than this, I'll be honest. So yeah, then moving on to Thursday.
Oh, well, you also went to a show that night.
Oh, right, yeah, so-
Back to the Future.
So yeah, Wednesday night, I on a whim decided to go see the Back to the Future musical for the third time, but in London this time because the show is over there now. I had seen it twice already in New York here, and I was like, I love a good show, and I had been kind of like doing a lot of walking, a lot of just information intake from all the experiences. So I was just like, I want to just go watch a fun show. So I did that, and it was great as expected. So that was a fun way to spend Wednesday night. And then Thursday, we started off at St. Paul's Cathedral, which is very beautiful. Another self-guided tour, learning about a lot of the history of the cathedral and learning what purposes the different spaces and rooms served.
Yeah, and I actually also went up to the top gallery. I think it was called the Golden Gallery. 528 steps, but the views were very nice. It was super windy up there, but it was leg day. It was worth it though, so that was fun.
And they also had a crypt below the church where there's a lot of
Dead people.
dead people. That's the thing. In a lot of these cathedrals, there are just tons of dead people.
And you're just walking on their tombstones.
Yeah, it's
Which
kind of
is
kind of weird.
like it's
feeling.
weird for me, but I guess it's normal. I don't know. That's how people were buried. So we visited Tower Bridge after St. Paul's Cathedral, and that was really fun. It was kind of like a smaller scale exhibit, but we were able to go up into the upper glass walkway, and so we could see the views over the river. We also learned a little bit about bridge engineering and what everything went into that to make it work. So in addition to seeing those upper portions with the nice views, we were also able to see the Victorian engine rooms, which was cool.
And then after that, we went to nearby Tower of London, which is like this old. It's not as much of a tower.
It's like a
it looks
fortress.
more, yeah, like a fortress or castle, where a lot of royalty lived in the medieval times as well.
Lived and
It
died.
has a very dark history. We went on a
Yeoman
walking-
Warder tour.
Yeah, so it was like a guided tour of that, and I felt like the whole entire tour we were just learning about all these different people who were executed there in all these different ways. So yeah, it was not the most heartwarming place to be by any means, but it was very educational.
And we stopped in to see the crown jewels, which was fun.
The crown jewels were
Yeah,
nice.
that was nice.
Yeah.
But nothing else. There's like a torture museum there. We skipped that.
Yeah, then after that we got dinner at this fancy Italian restaurant called the Larch, and it was very tasty.
The focaccia was like this high.
It was a gorge.
Yeah, thick
Gorge.
focaccia. Okay, last day, Friday.
The first thing we did on Friday was a Palaces and Parliaments walking tour, and so that walked us around like a lot of places in London, like Buckingham Palace, the Pall Mall, Parliament buildings, Big Ben.
It ended near Westminster Abbey.
Yeah, just a lot of like the important government and like
Yeah,
royal
we saw Downing Street, where
buildings.
the Prime Minister lives.
Yeah. So that
And
was cool, and
we were
got.
able. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna probably the same thing. We were
Changing
able
of
to
the
see portions of the changing of the guard ceremony, but we're missing the trooping of colors, which actually was today, which is unfortunate. but-
Yeah, rip. But we still got to see a procession of like soldiers marching down with their instruments and horses and stuff. So that was
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, that was a fun first thing. And then after that, we went to Westminster Abbey for more information overload. I did the audio tour. It actually was only 35 minutes, so it was doable. And then I viewed some of the other grounds. There were some smaller exhibits and rooms, and then the gardens and grounds were nice.
Yeah, I also was at Westminster Abbey. I did not do the audio tour because my brain could not contain any more information. I had already absorbed too much. But I did walk around and just appreciate its beauty. And then after that, they had a little cafe there. I got something to eat, and then I went over to Trafalgar Square to go to the National Gallery, which is an art museum, a free art museum, which was nice. And so I spent a little while in there admiring some European paintings. And then after that, I headed over to a spa because I had booked a spa appointment because I wanted to end the trip on a nice, relaxing note.
Yeah, and while Jane was off doing her thing, I went to the Design Museum to learn about the history of design and user-focused design, which is near and dear to my
UX,
heart as a UX mini person, I guess. I'm not a fully fledged designer myself, but you know, I dabble in that space. And I was also eating ramen, so that was fun. And then we met up in Marylebone, which was where her appointment was, to go to our last event of the whole trip, which was the London Eye. It was a fun way to finish out the trip because we just got to see all the places we had been and point out the different landmarks we had seen.
It's
up
just like a
close and in person.
giant Ferris wheel sort of thing with like enclosed bubbles that you
Capsules.
I guess. And it was good weather too, so we had really nice views of the city. And also we forgot to mention on Friday morning, before we did our Palaces and Parliament tour, we stopped at Leicester Square to see specifically the Paddington statue sitting on a bench because Paddington Bear is one of my favorite characters of all time. I even have the little stuffed animal of him at home that I'm excited to see when I get back. Got a little photo with Paddington, and I was happy about that.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that's basically it. After the London Eye, we went back to the Airbnb and started packing and showering. And then today we're about to enter our seventh leg of the trip. So it's been a long day of travel today. But
Yes, and what time is it now in UK time?
in UK, so it's 19 here. It'd be past midnight, like 12:30.
Yeah.
So
But it's only 7:30 here now, so
We're
yeah,
pretty
we're
tired.
taking the train home, and then we're gonna go to sleep.
Yep.
So, thank you for tuning in to our London vlog. I hope you've enjoyed our UK trip series. We've definitely had a lot of fun. It's been a tiring trip. Like, I've counted my steps on my phone, and like I'm gonna be at like 260K, I think, total, which is a lot. And
good walking.
Kate is a similar
Yeah.
amount, so we definitely got our workout in this trip. But it'll be good to relax. So,
yes.
all right. Well, thanks for watching. Bye. We're at Waterloo Station. Waterloo, I was defeated at Waterloo.
Oh, Kyle, you'd have fun here. Oh my gosh. Tend to drive a bus now.
He's wearing a little construction outfit.